Hello, hockey fans, and welcome back to another episode of High Flying, the podcast made for the fans.
By the fans.
As always, my name is Nolan, and I am here with my co-host Jude.
How's it going?
And today is a very special day we'll call it's mainly American history, but I guess Canadian history as well. I've been told to mention this, so I'll just get it going right off the top. We're recording this on Monday, November 10th. I'm not exactly sure which day it's going to air, but today is the 50-year anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
I I wish I had something to add on this. So,
Well, you
no one
got
please
it.
enlighten us on what that is.
So the SS Edmund Fitzgerald was an American cargo ship. I believe it was shipping iron across Lake Superior from Wisconsin when it sank. And I don't know a whole lot about the ship other than that. I believe it's commissioned in 58, sank in 75, which would make this, yes, the 50-year anniversary. But more notably, it gave us one of the probably greatest Canadian folk songs ever written about tragedy, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. So if you haven't heard it, go give us a listen. Gordon Lightfoot, one of the great Canadian songwriters. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, right on. What a way to start. That's out of left field. I wasn't expecting that one. We'll take
Yeah,
it.
there we go, keeping us on the toes. Also, I guess a semi more relevant anniversary. This is our 25th episode, so thank you
Wow.
to everyone who's stuck with us listening from the very beginning and to all of our new listeners and viewers. We hope you are enjoying our show and we hope to be around for 25 more. And of course, thank you to Jude and Ethan for not getting tired of me after 25 episodes.
Oh yeah. Shout out you. Shout out Gage Gammon, Gavin Mott, everybody who's been on the pod
Yeah,
at any point.
Steph. Yeah,
Steph,
Steph was on
of
there as
course.
well.
Yeah. So here's to another 25 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to go with this one? Do you want me to take it away? Do you want to take it away? How do you want to do this?
Uh, you said you got 2 pages of notes, so I'm gonna let you drive the bus here.
Okay, well, we'll get over the boring stuff. I know that the listeners don't like too much when we talk about jerseys, but two teams did unveil their Olympic jerseys
Oof.
for hockey, Team Canada and Team Finland. One of those is very atrocious. One of those I like very much, and you can probably guess which one's which.
I think we have very similar thoughts on these jerseys because the Finnish ones, pretty nice,
The
pretty good.
Finnish ones are sick.
They generally keep it pretty similar. They don't tend to switch it up majorly, which
You
is
know,
which is fine. It worked. It
y-
worked.
you know what I love about the Finnish ones, and this isn't a prediction. If you haven't seen them, go take a look. But with the Finnish ones, usually they have kind of a brighter yellowy shade for their crest. Their crest for the upcoming Olympics is like gold, like the color of a medal
Mm.
you're trying to play for. And I always love when nations incorporate gold into their uniforms for whatever outfit, whatever sport they're doing. And this isn't a prediction, but that jersey tells me that the Finns are ready to bring home some hardware, or at least try to. The Canadian jerseys, not so much.
Yeah, the white jerseys I don't mind so much. Those are fine. It's really the maple leaf. I think they did not do particularly good job on the maple leaf. It just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't hit like past Olympic jerseys have, that's for sure. So I hate to be critical of it. Obviously, going to be rooting on the squad, but that's I won't be buying one. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think the big issue for me is the maple leaf. It's just very it's all one color. It's got this really weird like shiny glare to it. It almost looks, you mentioned this for, I think it was Utah, maybe with the logo, how it's like EA Sports Hockey League-ish. I kind of think that Maple Leaf is just kind of anyone could have hopped on a video game or computer and come up with that. And I was hoping for something a little bit more creative, but oh well, what can you do? Hopefully the play on the ice is better than the jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, if they bring home the gold, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to talk about the jerseys. Let's talk about Canadian dominance and superiority when it comes to the sport of hockey. So,
Yeah. And then we also had two other kind of branding reveals. In the PWHL, Vancouver and Seattle have announced their team names and logos, and I think they're both really bad. And
I I have not seen the Seattle one until right now. I did see the Vancouver ones a bit ago when they dropped, and I'm not a fan at all.
yeah, I think to me, so that for those who don't know, it's going to be the Vancouver Golden Eyes and the Seattle Torrent. Um, I don't really know what either of them were thinking. I think like Vancouver Golden Eyes, my mind goes straight away to GoldenEye, like 007, James Bond. I don't think hockey. I think you could have done so many other things that are Vancouver area related. Um, I'm sure there's somebody who knows facts about birds. Maybe the goldeneye is a bird that's native to the Pacific Northwest. I didn't look into the meaning behind it. But goldeneye also doesn't really, I don't know, doesn't really strike fear into me. Doesn't inspire hard play. Um, and I feel like you want your branding to be synonymous with the team. And me going to an action movie franchise, anytime somebody Googles GoldenEye, it's not going to be women's hockey that pops up first.
Yeah, I also thought about James Bond immediately when I heard that. I don't really mind the name. To be honest, it doesn't bother me. It's more the jerseys that I saw for the inaugural season. Maybe I saw the wrong jerseys because they didn't have the logo or the team branding. The ones that I saw, they were like blue with like a brown rusty color on there.
So I believe they're pulling out a Utah type thing where they kept the jerseys very basic for the first season, and then they're gonna unveil new ones later on.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'll be able to stomach it for a year because I thought they were rather hideous, the jerseys that I saw for the first season. But I have hope. I have hope. I like the name Golden Knight. The Seattle one, Torrance, a shitty name. I'm sorry, that's bad.
Yeah, I understand they want to tie it into like Kraken and their aquatic theme most likely. But for those who don't know what a torrent is, I believe a torrent is just a strong current of water. Um, which I get Seattle is a coastal city, but at the same time, you can kind of find a strong current
Ethan,
of water anywhere.
Ethan, if you go the last page you're on there, right at the bottom here, do you see that? Do you see that one that's like, super zoomed in on the bird's face? That's a good potential meme template right there. That one, yeah. I don't know. Sorry, this is so off topic. When I saw that, I was like, "Fuck, you could make a good meme with that."
Ah, that's not bad, actually. Throw that in there.
All right.
Um, yeah, all in all, I think both of them missed the mark. I think there's so much more you could do to tie it in with the history of Seattle, or even like an aquatic theme. Have something a little bit more menacing than a large stream of water. Um, yeah, just my 2 cents. I'm not in marketing, but they both suck in my opinion, and I move on.
Yeah, we move.
Now I have some notes listed down here by about some NHL teams, but I know you like to do your knocks and five, so maybe based on what you say, it'll be a nice segue for some teams I've written down to discuss.
All right, we can get to Knox and five right off the bat here. It was a pretty jam-packed weekend, I guess, with a back-to-back. First game against Columbus. Um, it went well, I guess. I'm in a weird place with this team because they play hard most nights. They take some nights off, but for the most part, you can always count on the effort. There's just a large lack of top-end skill in the forward group. Most of the goals are hard to come by. It takes a lot of Takes a lot of grinding, a lot of effort to come up with the goals. But I thought they were pretty good in both games against Columbus for the most part. Maybe Hughes' best game I've seen so far this year. He looked like he was skating better, more like his dominant self. Patterson was good in both the games. I think I've just at this point have to adjust my expectations for what he can be because he is a very good NHL forward. He's just not elite right now. So I think, yes, he makes too much money, but just gonna have to adjust the expectations. Yesterday was maybe the best game I've seen him play against Colorado. He was actually shooting the puck for once, which is nice. He was holding on to the puck in the offensive zone. Him, Garland, and Kane looked really, really good together. Evander Kane the last three games has been a revelation, so much better. I don't know if he's just kind of now starting to get into like game shape, rounding into form, but he's carrying the puck through the neutral zone, holding on to pucks, making good passes. He's hitting guys all over the place. So I really liked his game the last couple here. And tough loss to Colorado. I thought coming off a 9-1 victory in Edmonton that it was going to be potentially a long night for the boys. And then McKinnon comes out and scores two in a minute and a half, and I was very worried. But to the Canucks' credit, they hunkered down. They fought hard. Definitely had a chance to win that one. It's tough to take a loss when the Canucks score 4 goals because that doesn't happen often right now. So yeah, looking forward, it's going to be tough to make the playoffs if you're win one game, lose one game, win one game, lose one game, which they've done the past 9 outings, I believe. It's just a roller coaster. You know, you're not gonna get near the playoffs like that. But yeah, all in all, it's just a weird spot. We're just in that mushy middle, and it's a tough place to get out of.
And the thing with Vancouver, obviously, it's still early in the season, but so everyone's really close in the standing still. You don't really have the spread, but I believe Vancouver's only like 2 points out of a wild card right now, so it's not the end of the world. Um, at the same time, though, there's definitely concerns, and I've kind of said my piece on Vancouver. The thing that I really like about their play recently is that compete level. And you talk about the Colorado Avalanche, they're t hanging in there against one of the top teams in the league right now. Like the Colorado Avalanche have only lost one game in regulation all season. And they have some pretty elite high-end talent that Vancouver doesn't. So to hang in and get it to overtime, put up 4 goals. Do you know who's in net? I don't remember who's in net. Was it Wedgwood in net for
No,
Colorado?
no, it was Blackwood.
Blackwood. Okay, so that's only his second game of the season. He's been injured a bit for the start of it, but either way, to put up 4 goals on Colorado is pretty good. So I think if you're going to take a positive from it, it is their compete level for sure.
Yeah, like you're saying, there was no quit in the team. They went down many times. It was 2-0 and then 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-3. I don't think the Canucks ever led, so there was good pushback the whole time. I just obviously wish they would have found a way to get the last one through. But looking forward, I guess what worries me is just that if all you're doing is keeping yourself at a 500 pace, eventually you're going to need to go on a run and win 5, 6 out of 7 games, 7 out of 9, something like that. And I just don't know if this team has it in them to string together the consecutive wins like that. Because yes, they are in every game. They're not getting blown out. They're not a horrible team. I just don't think they have the top end skill really to push for playoffs throughout an 82 game season. I would love to be proven wrong, obviously, but it's just a weird spot. I saw Braden Shen is on the trade market. I'm sure O'Reilly's probably going to be on the trade market too, and I'm thinking that is worst case scenario for the Canucks if we give up future assets to that team right now because I just don't think that they've proven they deserve it. But the way management's speaking, even on after hours the other night on Saturday, Patrick Alvin's talking like, "Well, you can't do a rebuild with this much talent on the roster." It's like, okay, I don't,
Uh,
all right, but
And we're out of time here, but I just want to say I've always been the Canucks need to do a full rebuild. I think you've always been the Canucks need to do a full rebuild. They've never really done it, but I saw a post, and I think if you go back the last however many years, I think it was 10 years, but every single team that has won the Stanley Cup has had a player on the roster either drafted first, second, or third overall. and the Canucks do not have that elite type of talent, and they're not bad enough to likely win a lottery to acquire that through the draft. So some trades will have to be made in the future, but we can save that for another episode.
Well, we're also cursed and never, ever, ever are going to get to pick. We could be the worst team in the league. We'll end up
Well,
picking 10th overall. It happens every time.
well,
We
the
don't even
Canucks,
believe in
either way, the Canucks are kind of a bubble team. Like they're not a shitter team. They're not at the bottom of the league. I kind of see them as a bubble team
Right.
right now,
I think
right?
it's I think it's nice this year that I think the floor has been raised on the bottom teams in the league. You know, the last couple of years you've had your San Jose's and your Chicago's and your Anaheims that were just awful. Buffalo, obviously, that you just mark them down as a win every time you see them on the calendar. This year, I don't really think there's many teams that are just despicably bad that you just know are going to end with like 60 points, 65 points.
I think Buffalo might be the only team because if you look at the state of events right now, San Jose is above Vancouver and Edmonton. Chicago is in a playoff spot right now. Obviously, Bedard's off the chain, second in the league right now in points as we're talking. Boston was atrocious last year. I believe they're second in the Atlantic. So yeah, the bottom feeder teams from last year, they're they're coming to play, and then you just have Buffalo below 500. So take that, Gage. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, pretty tough. I think immediate returns on JJ Peterka not looking like they won that deal. Rasmus Sand, sorry, Rasmus Dahlin. Jeez, my bad. Too many Swedes named Rasmus, but Rasmus Dahlin currently has left the team to tend to his wife who had a heart transplant recently. So sending well wishes out there. Hope everything's all good, obviously, and he can get back soon. But
I don't think anyone expected to do too much in Buffalo. I think at this point, Lindy's just kind of a scapegoat, so they have someone to fire without it really affecting the morale of the team. Like I think Lindy's gone at this point. I don't know when. Honestly, I think they may drag him out a little bit further into the season. Um, but yeah, in my mind, Lindy's gone. If you're like the only team in the East below 500, he's already had his run there.
I think that was a weird hire to begin with. You
I think
know,
it was just a scapegoat
retread.
hire, so they had somebody to point the finger at when it doesn't go well. I think Lindy wanted an NHL job, and they're like, "Oh, okay, this is the playing it safe route."
Yeah, curious hire. But anyways, that is the Buffalo Sabres for you. They don't do many things that most people look at and go, "That's a good idea. That's a good decision." So
Now you
no
brought
no
up,
surprise.
yeah, you brought up the Colorado Avalanche, who are absolutely flying right now, 10-1-5, only one regulation loss. McKinnon currently leading the league in points. He's got 29 of them. At the moment. So he's 3 points off of having 2 points per game on the season, which is not terrible.
He had a 9 point weekend. So say 4 points against Edmonton, and he figured in all 5 goals yesterday against the Canucks. So not too bad.
And here's the interesting thing with this McCarr doing what McCarr does. He is sixth in the league in points, first among defensemen with 22. Scott Wedgwood is having a well, maybe not a great season, but he's got, what do I have him here? A 237 goals against average, which is top 10 in the league. That's eighth among goalies in the league. And a 906 save percentage, 13 games played. And so he is rolling and he's kind of resurrected himself because he's kind of been a bit of a career backup. I remember playing in Dallas for the playoff runs. He's always looked like a solid goalie, but he is playing some very sustainable hockey. Blackwood's only had 2 games under him, so we'll see what level he settles at when he gets into a bit of a rhythm and more games under the belt. We talked about how Vegas was the team to beat. Is Colorado up there in Vegas level? Like, it wouldn't surprise me, and I think I said this when we did our predictions that I had them getting knocked out fairly early in the playoffs circumstantially because Colorado's struggled in the playoffs the last couple of years. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado's going on a cup run.
Me neither, to be honest. They look super fast. Ross Colton really stood out to me last night. He had an unbelievable game. He's flying all over the ice. Nichushkin, obviously the top end guys, everybody knows they're just great. It seems like this year though, I've only granted seen them one time, which was yesterday against the Canucks, but it looks like they have more depth than the previous seasons. Because even the guys whose names you don't really know, you haven't heard too much, they looked fast. I know the Canucks scored 4 goals, but they looked pretty tight defensively, especially if they're going to add some reinforcements, which you assume they will if they're at the top of the league near the deadline. I definitely think this could be a year for them.
Yeah.
Shout out Chris McFarland for completely turning around that goaltending situation. They said on the broadcast last night within 10 days last year they brought in Wedgwood and Blackwood. So
Yeah, I think Alexander Gorgiev was a little bit of a dumpster fire in Colorado, and they won when they won the cup. They won with Darcy Kemper, obviously a Vezina nominee at the high end of his caliber, but you don't need a top five goalie in the league to win a Stanley Cup. You just need a guy who competes in battles and keeps you in games. And Scott Wedgwood can do that. And also being on the older end, I think that really settles your decor. If you have an older goalie who's been around the league a while, it's really good for your locker room. So good on Colorado. Now, speaking of goalies, I am no longer, I've never been of the mindset that Edmonton should have gone into the season with the two goalies they did. You had because of Stuart Skinner's age. I think one of these guys need to go. Now, granted, Stuart Skinner is having not a good season. I'd say it's a bad season, but it's not an end of the world season, right? Like 280, 281. You're below 3 goals against per game. Like that's solid. An 889 save percentage is pretty bad. I think every goalie wants to be above 900, but it's not like he's far off. He can get there. The main concern would be is that he's only got 4 wins in 11 starts. And it's not like his guys aren't scoring because McDavid's still top 10 in the league. They're still getting production. Calvin Pickard looks like he needs to be drugged behind a barn and shot. Like, like, and maybe that's a little bit harsh, but we got Jack Campbell 2.0 here with Calvin Pickard. The only difference is his contract's not as big.
yeah, at least they didn't give him a 5 by 5.
I don't know
I
what happened. It looks like he's playing goal in front of a soccer-sized net.
I mean I believe I said in the offseason I wouldn't give up on him just yet, but also I don't think he should be your just out and out starting goaltender. Like I think he could potentially thrive in a 1A 1B type of situation because we have seen him play well in the past, but I will agree, Edmonton, that is definitely going to be the downfall of this team if they can't find somebody to stop some pucks. There's a couple teams in the league right now that are kind of in that position. I know Montreal is closer to the top of the standings, but Samuel Montembeault is not having too spectacular of a start.
But Jakub Dobeš is playing unreal
Yeah,
for Montreal.
exactly.
So I think like Jakub Dobeš, I think has won the starting role there, or at least you run with the hot hand for now.
For sure. For
And
sure. Goaltending is such a weird position, man.
yeah, and you look, and I haven't watched a full Edmonton game, but I've watched bits and pieces here. And I don't want to pick on guys because we pick on guys that this all the time and it gets so repetitive. But Evan Bouchard looks so bad defensively. Like I understand he's there for the points. He gets burned. So it's like once a game, Evan Bouchard's getting burnt from the clips I'm seeing. And maybe that's my perception because you only see the highlights of the mistakes and of the goals against. But he looks like he's making such elementary mistakes defensively. And so I don't want to put it all on the goalies. I always said they should never have gone into the season with the same two guys. I still maintain that. The problem is like you have to move someone to get a new goalie. It's like who do you move, right? But Connor McDavid's probably having a brain aneurysm right now. He took a discount to win. You have to help him out. You have to get him some goaltending help. You short up Matthias Ekholm, you short up Jake Wallman, fine. It's not working. You're letting in goals. Edmonton's in big trouble.
Yeah, Bouchard, they talked about this on Chicklets a bit ago, that he's kind of a McDavid merchant, Like I wonder how many points, I haven't actually looked into this, but how many of his points are coming on the power play? Just snapping it on one side to Draisaitl or the other side to McDavid. Because I think everybody's pretty aware he's not exactly a shutdown D-man. We saw in the finals last year him just get absolutely danced by Reinhardt on that one play coming down the left wall. Yeah, Edmonton, I think it's really hard for any team to make it to the finals 3 straight years, let alone if you've lost twice and your goaltending tandem features two guys that maybe not in the NHL on a lot of teams. So I agree with you. They're in a world of hurt. Stan Bowman probably gonna want to do something about that sooner than later. I'm not sure how many options they have at this point because not many teams are looking to give up solid goaltenders in the middle of the
But,
season.
well, I think the other thing too is like I never thought they were making it back just the amount of hockey that they've played. Um, Stan Bowman's probably not the guy to get you out of this hole because he kind of inherited a Chicago Blackhawks team that already had a cup contending roster, sustained it as long as he could, and then saw the foundation of that team crumble before his very eyes. And so Stan Bowman doesn't strike me as his skill set is building a competitive roster. Like if you need that sustainability or if you need someone to manage top end talent, awesome. Stan Bowman's your guy. Edmonton's not at that level where I think they can compete for a Stanley Cup, and I know that's weird saying that they've been back there the past 2 years. I don't want to say they got lucky, but they did it on the back of Connor McDavid, right? Like, and I don't think you can rely on one guy anymore. He needs help, and he hasn't got the required help.
Yeah, kind of interesting when you look at Chicago, the downfall of the dynasty. That team blew up so quickly. They just moved on from everybody in one fell swoop. Like Jalmerson, Sod, Sharp, all those guys were just traded in a very, very quick span, and that didn't really need to happen either. Same with Panarin, they traded him for kind of nothing.
Panarin, I think, was kind of the beginning of the end
Yeah,
in that one.
yeah.
And as somebody, one of our shout out Craig Bensey, he wrote into us asking if we could compare um, the rebuilds of Chicago and Anaheim and contrast them to the Canucks and how mismanaged the Canucks were, which I think would be very interesting to do on a later episode. So I'm sure we can accommodate that. The thing with Chicago is they kind of forced a rebuild when they didn't need to, and they managed it really poorly. And I think the only reason they're getting out of their hole right now is because of Connor Bedard, and he's kind of coming out of his sophomore slump. He's in his third season now, and he's kind of found his footing, found his skill set. Uh, Chicago isn't going to be a playoff team by the end of the year. So I think Chicago's still in a phase where they're still, transitioning through that rebuild, but it was just that's such a strange case for me because they forced a rebuild when they really didn't need to.
Yeah, you still had Taves and Kane pretty much smack dab in the middle of their primes. Still had Duncan Keith rolling at that time. Um, Very curious the decision to move on from Panarin when they did. I guess they didn't want to pay him probably, which is wild considering what he went on to do after that. Speaking on Chicago though, I think it's kind of interesting that everybody thinks Bedard was like in a sophomore slump or like wasn't living up to his potential. I guess it makes sense given how much notoriety he had coming out of junior and the amount of points that he put up playing for the Regina Pats. But if you look at it, I actually saw a graphic yesterday that I think it was through their first, damn, I can't remember. Let me look for this.
It's like 140 something games. You're
Yes,
talking about
yeah,
how he's
yeah, yeah.
actually on pace to have better numbers than Patrick Kane.
Well, him and Patrick Kane had the exact same amount of points through their first. It was something like that, 145 games or whatever it is. The only difference being Bedard had like four more goals and Kane had four more assists, but the points were the exact same. So it's just kind of interesting to see. Like, I think it's more of a more of a statement on fans of the game that we just expect these guys, all of them. We've been so blessed with talent over the years that we just expect all these guys to walk in and immediately light up the league, regardless of what situation they're going into. Um, but yeah,
Well,
it
like,
is nice to see Bedard coming coming to fruition and really figuring out the game.
that's the thing is I think we throw around the term generational talent a lot. Um, and that was used heavily with Connor Bedard. So I think everyone expected him to be putting up points in the numbers of McDavid and Crosby, because those were kind of the two comparables he got when he was coming into the league. Um, Obviously, he hasn't done that. Then you look at guys like Matthew Schaefer and Macklin Celebrini, who we talked a lot about, like Schaefer in his first year as a defenseman, pretty close to a point per game. Macklin Celebrini's in his second year, and he is tied with Bedard right now in points, I believe, for second in the league. So I think when people say sophomore slump, it's not like he had a terrible season by any measure, but just comparing to the expectations and some of the production of guys around him, he wasn't at the level you expected to be. Like we both left him off Team Canada, and you had Celebrini on there, and now you can make the argument that you at least have to look at him for Team Canada. Um, so,
I think I'm
it's
putting both of them on there right now.
yeah, I mean, it's who, yeah, it's like who do you take off? Like Wyatt Johnston's another guy. We can get into this another day, but there's
Yeah.
definitely a few guys that we had on our rosters that we're probably switching off right now. But
Yeah, I think that'll be fun to do. Maybe come December, Christmas break, we can do an update, see if our how different our rosters are.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so moving on. Next thing I think we have to talk about only 3 goals on the season, not the most productive year in the world. But Alex Ovechkin does officially now have 900 goals. The pace he's going, I believe he's going to hit somewhere around like the 15, not 15, I think it was like 21 goal mark, I think, somewhere around there. If he keeps going on the pace this year, which isn't up to standard, but he is getting older. I think he's 41. Either way, 900 goals, huge accomplishment. The only player to do so. Now, my question is, do we think that this is getting broken by anyone in the league right now?
No. No,
Oh, oh, really?
I think the amount of longevity, first off, that you need to score that many goals in the NHL is just absolutely ridiculous. I think if you're looking at guys who could maybe do it, you're looking at pretty much just Matthews and Draisaitl, I think, have numbers right now that would put them around making it possible to do. But I just think that is you have to score 50 goals so many times to do this. And I just don't know if it's going to be possible for anybody else. So my first bet would just be no. Like it's just insane how many goals that is.
So Austin Matthews is arguably the closest. Obviously, there's guys that have more that are too old to bridge the gap in their careers. Austin Matthews has 410 goals in 645 games.
So many goals.
Um, Draisaitl's right behind him, 409 goals, but he's played about 150 games more than Matthews.
Right.
Other guys that are pretty close, Pasternak, McKinnon, and McDavid are all right there. McKinnon and McDavid probably have more of a rounded game than Matthews and Draisaitl, so I don't really expect them to get there. Just because I think Draisaitl and Matthews are more goal focused. Um, Pasternak 399 goals in 773 games, so he could get there. These guys are all around the same age too, 28 for Matthews, 29 for Pasternak, and 30 for Draisaitl. Uh,
Yeah,
I
I just
want to say none of them are going to do it, but like Matthews, if Matthews can be a 50 goal scorer for the next 9 years, which I know that sounds a little ridiculous.
That's
That
insane.
that puts him, just hear me out. If he can be a 50 goal scorer for the next 9 years, that puts him about 40 goals away. That would take him to 37. Ovechkin's what, 41?
He
So
is 41.
that gives you another 5 years, arguably, if he stays healthy. Big if, I know. That gives you about another 5 years to bridge the gap of that 40 goals. I'm gonna say now, obviously, this isn't taking into account the Connor Bedards and the Macklin Celebrinis who just started their career. I'm gonna say yes, that by the time the players, um, that are currently in the NHL retire, I think somebody does break Ovechkin's goal record. Watch now, Matthews is going to get a concussion next game and be out for the season. I think Austin Matthews can do it. Draisaitl's pretty close behind him. I think Draisaitl's not exactly on the same pace. Like I said, played about 150 games more than Matthews. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Austin Matthews does it.
All right, it's definitely possible. I don't want to say it's not. To me, there's just so many things that have to go right. The number one thing is health, of course. You have to have the longevity to get there. It'd be interesting to see, Ethan. I don't know if you can find this. How many games did you say Matthews has played? 654?
As of today, at the time of the recording, he's played 645 games and he has
645.
410 goals.
Okay, Ethan, can you look up how many goals Alex Ovechkin had through his first 645 games? Because I think
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see. I think Matthews can do it? Yes. Just right now, I think I would have to bet against it, given how many things need to go exactly right. That's an insane stat that you said. As long as he just scores 50 for the next decade every year,
Well, if you
he'll
think
win.
about it, right? Like you double his amount of games, that put him at 12,000, right? Or not 12,000,
1200.
1,200. Misspoke. That put him at 1,200 if you double his amount of games. You double his amount of goals, that's 810. But he did miss a lot of games at the start of his career with injury, right? So, sorry, that'd be 820. So you're about 80 goals away. You're about 2 seasons away,
Right.
right? He is in his 10th season, I believe. So that, yeah, I'd take him to 40, not accounting for the games he was injured. It'll be close. I think he can do it
I think he gets
if
to
he can stay
800 for
healthy.
sure. I think he gets to 800, no problem. It's just going to be at the tail end. Like,
Yeah.
how does the body hold up, really? Because Ovechkin, that's really the thing that carried him over is that maybe he's not off to the fastest start this year, but the last couple of years, he had that one year where he looked a little bit slower a couple of years ago, and then just came back with a vengeance. And last year scored 40 in the season. He broke the record. So
Yeah, obviously Toronto or whatever team Matthews is on would have to stay competitive too, so I think he has that help. Um, you know, Losing Mitch may not help in terms of him getting fed the puck, or maybe it will help because it's one less guy you can rely on to put it in the net. Maybe that lights a fire under him. Ovechkin had 422 goals at Matthews' current mark, 12 more goals. Once again, Matthews missed a lot of games early in his career with injury. Who knows if he had been healthy throughout that whole stretch?
this is true.
Um,
Another
and
thing I think Another thing that might work in Matthews' favor is that Ovechkin, through the middle part of his career, was going through a period of NHL history where goals were few and far between. I think in what was it, 2015, where the Art Ross Trophy winner scored 86 points or something like that. Like,
87 points, Jamie Benn.
yeah, yeah. So you're looking now like we've just seen McDavid win some with 153 points. It's like that might I think that's going to work in Matthew's favor as well. There's probably
Yeah,
going to be more goals overall being scored throughout his career. So
I think the technology is better too, for sure. And I think there's a lot more open ice. Like one big thing is I don't know how much of a difference it makes going from 4-on-4 overtime to 3-on-3 overtime, right? Like it's just more
there was never a
games are
goal.
ending in overtime opposed to a shootout. I would assume Matthews is on the ice for the start of every Toronto overtime game, right? So
It's true. They never had 4-on-4 overtime, but I know it. Your point still stands. It's a good point.
they had 4-on-4 overtime, 100%. It went, uh, there was no overtime, and then it was 4-on-4, and then they changed it to 3-on-3.
Are you serious?
From 2005 on to like 2017,
Oh,
16 or
see,
something, it was 4-on-4 overtime.
this is just, I mean,
Yeah, was it?
you're
Oh, there
showing
we
your
go.
age here a little
There we
bit, I
go.
guess.
Sorry, not 2005. I thought it was the lockout, but from 99 to 2015, overtime was 4-on-4.
Shit, hey, shows how much I know.
Yeah.
Damn. Wow.
So,
Guess just things you know when you're born in the 90s.
yeah, you know why they probably did that change? Because they probably like, oh my God, Jamie Benn only has 87 points. We need to do something.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple things they did that were along those lines. I guess changing overtime, they had to like regulate goalie pad sizes to make them smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling more penalties, lots of stuff. Which I mean, I'm happy about. More goals, obviously better.
Yeah. So there you go. Do you want a fun fact?
Always.
Um, I want to see something here. I always thought overtime. Oh, that's right. It was shootouts. I got it confused. That's right. Shootouts for 2005, I think, because the only active player, I said this before, I'll say this again. The only active player, you can fact check this, in the NHL that has ever experienced a game ending in a tie is Brent Burns.
Okay, piggybacking off that, you want to hear some more crazy Brent Burns stats?
Yeah, tell me about Brent Burns.
So Brent Burns, as of last night, has played a full season, more than a full season's worth of games against the Vancouver Canucks alone. He's played 83 total games in his career against the Vancouver Canucks. His first one was in 2004.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Just ridiculous with the Minnesota
Minnesota
Wild coming
Wild.
in.
I assume,
And they were saying yesterday it was the first game after the Todd Bertuzzi incident that he came in. So pretty hot
oh.
button game there for Brent Burns starting his career. But that's just insane to me.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense because Minnesota at the time, the Canucks were in the Northwest Division, and it was Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Minnesota, and Colorado, I believe, were the five teams in that division.
Yep, that's what they're saying. And then obviously it goes down to San Jose, playing against Vancouver a ton. Not
Yeah,
as much with Carolina, but
as soon as they switched the divisions over.
yeah.
Wow, I wonder, this may be hard to find, but I wonder what his season stats against Vancouver would look like in those 83 games. I wonder what that would look like. His games against the Canucks, 12 goals and 33 assists for 45 points against the Canucks. So a point every second game. That's pretty solid for him.
That is pretty solid. Especially, I wonder, probably a lot of those games are coming when he was still in Minnesota in that Northwest Division where he wasn't quite the player he eventually became. So,
Yeah, for sure. And if you think about his time with San Jose, I'm sure he was on the power play a lot, and I'm sure he had a lot of help because he played with Carlson, Couture, Pavelski, Thornton, Marlowe. There was some Hurdle. There were some guys who had some firepower on that San Jose team that could help him out point wise.
yep, good old days there in San Jose.
Now, the thing that I find interesting about the NHL season is I want to go over to the East for a second, if you don't mind. Some teams we expected to struggle, some teams we expected to do well, and you talked about how kind of the bottom of the league floor is starting to bridge the gap, point wise and wins wise, and those lower teams are getting more competitive. Like we saw Detroit off to a really hot start. That's kind of petered out now. Both the Pens and Flyers are hanging in there. And with that, those teams moving up in the standings means there's naturally teams that are losing points to them. And I want to know if it's time to hit the panic button on either of these two teams because just looking at it from a standings perspective, I believe both these teams, both these teams are 500 or higher right now. But how concerned should we be if we're the Florida Panthers or the New York Rangers?
So I'll start with the Panthers because I don't think you're hitting the panic button yet on the Panthers. One, because they do have at least one major reinforcement coming eventually in Matthew Tkachuk. Might be January, but still, that's gonna help. You would assume. I also think that it's tough for a lot of those guys probably to get up for regular season games in October and November when they've been playing in some of the most high stakes games that you can possibly play in over the past 2 years, including Four Nations as well as the Cup Finals. So for them, I think they will figure it out. Brad Marchand is playing unbelievable.
He's their only player currently above a point per game, Brad Marchand.
Yeah, not ideal. Obviously, losing Barkov was huge before the season started, but for them, I do think they will figure it out. I have faith in the Panthers to at least get back to the playoffs. The Rangers, however, yikes! I believe they still have not won a game at MSG this year. 0-5-1 last I checked.
They're
I
0-6-1 now.
oh Even worse. Not looking good for my preseason predictions on that front. Big swing and a miss from me there.
Yeah, I guess you have both of these teams winning their divisions.
Yep. So that's looking awesome. Yeah, big swing and a miss on the Rangers so far. That is looking it's looking ugly. They not very good defensively so far. JT Miller as your captain, I think probably should have raised a lot more alarm bells than maybe it did when that happened because if things aren't going well, he tends to not handle that particularly. I mean, I'm not in the room, so I don't know for sure, but from the outside perspective, anyways, it seems when things aren't going particularly well, he maybe doesn't handle it as well as you'd want your captain to. Yeah, Mike Sullivan. He was the belle of the ball coaching wise this offseason, and I don't want to say it surprised me because obviously he's a two-time Cup champion, has the most wins in Pittsburgh Penguins history as a coach. But I kind of was looking at it like, are you really going to give this guy a bunch of money when the Penguins haven't made the playoffs for 3 straight years? They haven't won a playoff round since they won the cup.
I
Like, what has
think
he really done for me lately?
I think aside from Crosby though, the Penguins production was they didn't have the top end talent that the Rangers do. Like obviously Malkin and Carlson were on the roster the 3 years they missed the playoffs, but those guys kind of sucked, you know? And whereas this year Malkin's playing out of his mind. Carlson is top 15 still, I believe, in NHL points among defensemen. So those two guys have kind of found a resurrection of their career. Maybe that we talked about it last episode, how that could come with a coaching change. Maybe that's what the Rangers were trying to do as well.
Yeah, I understand that he's a two-time Cup champ. Um, but I think the Rangers made in hindsight, looking at it, they made some decisions that are highly questionable moving on from Keandre Miller. Looking like that's not going great to start off. Their decor is not the most fleet of foot, we'll say, outside of Adam Fox. Um, yeah, so there I'm definitely worried about them. I'm hitting the you go 7 straight games without winning at home. That's panic button o'clock for sure.
See,
Um,
I don't know if I hit the panic button on either of these teams. And I'll tell you why, but I also don't know how to fix the New York Rangers. I think Florida it just is chalked up to you don't have your two best players. Kachuk and Barkov are both injured. And I think that's going to even out. Like Detroit, we're seeing them lose some games now, drop down the standings. Boston, I think we're going to see it lose some games. I think that'll all get sorted. Looking at this team, where am I looking at them? Like Bobrovsky's numbers aren't great, right? Like a 2.74 goals against average and an 8.87 save percentage. Pretty subpar numbers. However, in the 11 games he's played, he's won 7 of them. Like he's only lost 4 games with those numbers. They're not far off, I think, Florida. I think they're just struggling not having that production and not having that presence on the ice. Barkov especially, he's huge player defensively. Reinhardt's numbers aren't quite there right now, so I think Barkov in the lineup takes a lot of pressure off of Reinhardt. So obviously they're not getting Barkov back anytime soon, but I think this is just some growing pains trying to find a way to adapt without their 2 best players. The
Like
Rangers,
you
on
said,
the other hand, or go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, like we were saying too, the floor of the whole, especially Eastern Conference, has raised as well. So I think right now, like it's not like they're super far out of it yet, where they can't find their way back. I think some of these teams that have started well, like you're saying, the Flyers, like the Penguins, I'm not sure if their success is going to be sustained over the course of the season. So I do think, like you're saying, the Panthers will find a way to make it.
Yeah, and it changes too. Like if I'm not mistaken, last week when we did the episode, the Flyers were 16th in the Eastern Conference. Now they're fourth in the division, I think. So things change pretty quick. Tampa Bay for the first 3, 4 weeks of the season was bottom of the Atlantic. Now Tampa Bay is fourth in the division, so there's still lots of time for stuff to move around. The Rangers, I don't hit the panic button on them yet, but I also don't know what to do about them. So for those who do not know about the New York Rangers, home struggles, they're 0-6-1 uh, at home. They have scored 6 goals at home in 7 games. 5 of those 6 goals came against the San Jose Sharks, and they still lost. They lost 6-5 in overtime. So if you take away their Sharks overtime loss, out of their 6 regulation home losses, they were shut out 5 times, which is bad.
Holy shit! I didn't know it was.
Yeah,
That's just going from bad to worse. Oh my Lord.
yeah. Now, the good news is for the New York Rangers is that they're 7-1-1 on the road.
What a fucking wonky team.
So they can win games and they can score. Now, the problem is their leading goal scorer, who has 5 goals, is Taylor Radish. Panarin, I believe, has 3 goals. Fox has 3 goals. Lafreniere has 2. Zibanejad has 4. This is not good.
One of those situations where great for Taylor Radish, maybe not great for the New York Rangers.
Yeah. Now, if one of those guys just starts putting it back in the net, we're good to go. Like all their top guys are shitting the bed right now. They're playing fucking terrible hockey, right? Like it's not good. I don't know how to get those guys putting in the net, but these are all guys that know how to and have proven they can in the past. So one of those guys just needs to figure it out and flip the switch, and we're good to go. On top of this, Igor Shesterkin having a pretty good season, like not great by his standard, but like 909 save percentage, 241 goals against average. He's letting in less than 2.5 goals per game. So that tells me it's an offense issue. Jonathan Quick is actually on pace for a career year right now, which is pretty awesome at 39, despite their record. He has a 950 save percentage and a 126 goals against average. I don't actually know how many games he's played. I don't know if Ethan can bring that up, but regardless, that's pretty solid. He's letting in a, about a goal and a quarter a game. And so defensively and goaltending wise, their numbers are fantastic. All their production has come on the road. They do have help from their secondary scoring and their depth guys. It's just the top end talent that's not producing. And I don't know what catalyst you bring in to do that, you know? And to me, I look at this and I go, you're not just going to trade for a guy and solve the problem because you don't want to move any of that top end talent because I think all these guys can still produce. And you can't really do a full rebuild because all these guys are handed out big money contracts. Like Fox has 3 years left after this year and a $9.5 million AAV deal. Shesterkin, Gavrikov,
JT.
Miller, Lafreniere, and Zibanejad all have 4 years left on their deals. The cheapest one of that is Gavrikov at 7 years. The most expensive of that is Zibanejad. Sorry, 7 million for Gavrikov. Zibanejad is the most expensive at 8.5. Everyone else falls somewhere in between. Panarin's a free agent this year. If you trade Panarin, I don't think in search of goaltending help, I don't know, or goal scoring help, sorry. I don't know if you get the return on Panarin that you want.
Yeah, I guess they'd probably be looking to trade him for somebody with more term or like at least a couple years left. Because like you're saying, it'd be they're kind of in a weird spot where you're not going to blow up the team. You just traded for JT last off or in the middle of last year. They've got
Yeah, JT, by the way, I think he has 3 goals as well, which is not
yeah,
good.
no, slow start all around on that front. But yeah, if you're trading Panarin, I guess it's probably for somebody of kind of in a similar spot where you know the talent's there, you know the potential to score is there. It's just kind of not clicking, but they're probably going to want to get somebody back with a bit more term on that front. Or maybe you're just flipping them for another guy that's going to be on an expiring deal, see if that can spark something for a bit, and then you head into the off season and you're like, hey, we're the New York Rangers. We'll chuck around some big dollars. Let's get a big name free agent.
Yeah, the players are right, or the Rangers are right up against the cap right now, I believe. I think they have like 800,000 left in cap space for this year. If you consider their guys on the AR, I think that puts them just over the cap. Next year, that shouldn't be a problem because the cap's going up again. So I don't think I'm hitting the panic button on the New York Rangers just yet. I also can't solve the problem of scoring at home. I know Panarin shaved his head, so hopefully that helps because bald Panarin is usually he's a pretty solid goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think if they bring back Panarin, it's going to be like he's going to have to take a pay cut too because he's currently making I think 11.
11.6, I believe.
Oh, yeah, and I don't think anybody's going to be handing out that contract to him again,
No.
because the last couple of years have not been quite as good as he was in his prime. And obviously, he's 34 now. We're looking at that, it's not a surprise. He's obviously still a good player, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm worried about them for sure. I think at this point the home play is a bit of a trend. Uh, Obviously, yeah, like you said, they can win games and they have talent. So could they put it together? Sure. I just think also like the vibes around that team ever since last year, going back to when Chris Drury made that statement about Kreider and Truba and kind of started dogging the leadership group. They just haven't like I don't know. They just something about the team just feels off.
Yeah. I don't know who you Yeah, this is a weird team. I don't know how you fix this, but like I also don't think they're that far out of it because like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are the two teams directly ahead of them. And I don't think Pittsburgh or Philadelphia are that good. Like, I don't think that's sustainable. Washington's below them. I don't know what we can talk about Washington a different day, but yeah, I want to say you give it more time. I think if you're hitting 30 games and you're still just out of wild card spot, then I think you have to go for it, right? And make a trade and try and do something. But hopefully these guys find a way to start scoring at home.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening to our 25th episode of High Flying. Again, thanks to everybody who's been with us from the start. Thanks to all the new listeners who have found their way to us in the last little while. Big shout out to Ethan on the buttons, producing the whole thing. Anyways, I think that does it for today. So we will see you next week. And yeah, shout out. Thanks
Yeah,
for listening.
yeah, and as always, let us know how you would fix the New York Rangers. Let us know your thoughts on the new jerseys, the new branding. If you have any comments, any questions, if you want us to talk about anything, write in like Craig did, and we will try and talk about your topics on the pod.